Hello, and welcome to the show that's contractually obligated to point out the slow-motion train wreck that is modern civilization. Today we're diving into some of the most critical mistakes politicians around the world are making that could have severe consequences for our civilization. From ignoring the increasingly panicked screams of scientists about the climate to actively fanning the flames of division and distrust, it's like they're working off a checklist titled How to Turn Earth into a Post-Apocalyptic Wasteland. Now, you might be thinking, Junior, this all seems a bit heavy for a Tuesday afternoon. And to that, I say you're not wrong, but if not us, then who? So buckle up, dear viewers, as we unpack these political blunders that, if left unchecked, could very well doom us all. Let's get started. You know, it's truly remarkable. We live in an age where we have irrefutable scientific evidence that we are quite literally cooking our planet. And what are our esteemed leaders doing about it? Well, some are busy investing in impressive new techniques for burying their heads in the sand. Others are doubling down on fossil fuels like a chain smoker who celebrates quitting by buying a carton. It's the equivalent of seeing a house fire, grabbing a bag of marshmallows and saying, "Well, might as well enjoy the show." We're talking about the future of our planet, the only habitable one we know of, and the response from some politicians is about as inspiring as a wet baguette. The fact is, addressing climate change requires bold action, not empty promises and half-hearted measures. We need to transition to renewable energy sources, invest in sustainable infrastructure, and hold polluters accountable. Ignoring this crisis is not just irresponsible, it's a monumental act of intergenerational injustice. After all, what kind of world are we leaving for future generations? One where the main export of Florida is sunscreen and regret. Remember when politics was about finding common ground, building consensus, and working together for the greater good? Yeah, me neither. These days it's all about scoring points, owning the libs' cons, and generally treating the other side like they're not just wrong, but actively malicious. It's like everyone's trapped in a never-ending Twitter thread, fueled by outrage and devoid of nuance. This toxic polarization has real-world consequences. It leads to gridlock, where even the most basic and necessary legislation becomes a partisan battleground. It erodes public trust in our institutions, making it easier for those with less than noble intentions to exploit the divide. It's time to ditch the US versus them mentality and remember that we're all in this together. We need leaders who are willing to reach across the aisle, find common ground, and put the needs of the people above their party. The COVID-19 pandemic was a wake-up call, a blaring siren exposing the fragility of global health infrastructure. Yet, for many politicians, it seemed to be playing on mute. Decades of underfunding and neglecting public health systems left countries ill-prepared for a major health crisis. It's like trying to fight a wildfire with a garden hose, woefully inadequate and frankly insulting to the scale of the problem. We need to invest in robust public health systems, support frontline healthcare workers, and ensure access to affordable healthcare for all. Ignoring public health is not just short-sighted. It's a recipe for disaster. After all, a healthy population is the foundation of a strong and prosperous society. Let's talk about the ever-widening chasm between the haves and the have-nots, shall we? It's a tale as old as time. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and the middle class is left wondering what happened to the American dream. We're living in an era of unprecedented wealth inequality, where a tiny fraction of the population controls a disproportionate amount of wealth and resources. This isn't just morally wrong, it's economically and socially unsustainable. When a significant portion of the population struggles to make ends meet, it leads to social unrest, political instability, and a decline in overall well-being. We need policies that promote economic fairness, create opportunities for upward mobility, and ensure that everyone has a shot at a decent life. Democracy, that fragile experiment we've been clinging to for dear life, yeah, it turns out it requires constant upkeep, like a temperamental houseplant that wilts if you look at it wrong. But lately, it feels like someone swapped out the fertilizer for poison. We're witnessing a dangerous erosion of democratic norms around the world. Attacks on the judiciary, attempts to suppress voting rights, and a blatant disregard for the rule of law are becoming increasingly commonplace. These actions chip away at the very foundations of democracy, paving the way for authoritarianism and tyranny. We need to defend democratic institutions, hold elected officials accountable, and actively participate in the democratic process. Complacency is not an option. We live in the information age, which ironically has become synonymous with the misinformation age. It's like someone dumped a truckload of glitter into the internet, and now we can't tell what's real and what's just sparkly bullshit. The spread of misinformation and disinformation, often fueled by social media algorithms more interested in engagement than accuracy, is a threat to democracy and informed decision-making. From election interference to anti-vaccine propaganda, the consequences of unchecked misinformation are real and dangerous. We need to promote media literacy, hold platforms accountable for the content they spread, and support independent journalism. You know what's baffling? We live in a time where we can access the collective knowledge of humanity with a few taps on a smartphone. Yet there seems to be a growing distrust, even disdain for scientific expertise. Politicians dismissing climate change, downplaying the severity of pandemics, or promoting unfounded medical treatments based on gut feelings rather than evidence. It's like watching a group of toddlers try to fly a plane using only crayons and wishful thinking. We need to restore trust in science, base policy decisions on evidence, and ensure that scientific research is adequately funded and communicated to the public. In a world already grappling with complex challenges, it's baffling that some leaders still default to the most primitive and destructive solution: war. Pouring resources into military spending while neglecting education, healthcare, and social programs is like trying to put out a fire by dousing it with gasoline. It's time to prioritize diplomacy, conflict resolution, and international cooperation. Investing in peace, not war, is the only way to create a more stable and secure future for all. Governing, much like responsible adulthood, requires thinking beyond the next paycheck, or in this case, the next election cycle. Sadly, far too many politicians seem to operate on a short-term, instant gratification basis. It's the political equivalent of eating ramen noodles for every meal. It might seem like a good idea now, but it's going to have some nasty long-term consequences. We need leaders who are willing to make tough decisions, even if they're unpopular in the short term, and who prioritize long-term thinking and sustainable solutions. After all, we're not just inheriting this planet from our ancestors, we're borrowing it from our children. Migration is a complex issue, one that requires compassion, understanding, and a commitment to finding humane solutions. Unfortunately, the response from many politicians has been about as nuanced as a sledgehammer. Building walls, demonizing migrants, and implementing policies that criminalize asylum seekers are not only ineffective, they're morally reprehensible. It's time to address the root causes of migration, such as poverty, conflict, and climate change, and to create safe and legal pathways for those seeking a better life. After all, we're all humans sharing this planet. Addressing these issues requires a concerted effort from politicians and society as a whole. Fostering collaboration, prioritizing long-term thinking, and valuing scientific expertise are essential steps toward building a more resilient and sustainable future. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of these problems, to succumb to cynicism and apathy, but as citizens, we have a responsibility to hold our leaders accountable, to demand better, and to work towards a brighter future. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more insightful content.